he will request approval from the president for a waiver to make the COVID vaccines mandatory by mid-September.
Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby following today's announcement of a vaccine mandate for U.S. military personnel. But the mandates didn't stop there. The top teachers union rep is now calling for vaccine mandates for all teachers this fall. From the military, teachers to federal government officials, the number of vaccine mandates is growing. I'll speak with one university professor who's fighting the vaccine mandate trend with the help of his lawyer. And violence continued across the country this weekend, including the death of 29-year-old Chicago police officer Ella French during a traffic stop. What's behind this growing trend? We'll continue our conversation on policing in America. And we are following the money train, how American taxpayers appear to be on the hook for Amtrak's $66 billion ticket. The Donlon Report starts right now. Good evening. We start with a new week and new questions about the COVID virus, and also the Delta variant. In addition to that, a new mandate just announced for the U.S. military. The Pentagon will require all members to get the COVID vaccine by September 15th, which brings up the latest debate over all of this, pitting the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. What about mask mandates? What about states that are banning mandates? What about vaccine passports? It is getting complicated, no question. Here's what we know. Half of the U.S. population is fully vaccinated, but 41.3% of eligible Americans are not. And there are a lot of reasons for that beyond politics or distrust. And that's where we start tonight with the story of a college professor who isn't vaccinated, but he's had COVID and says he doesn't need the shot because he still has the antibodies. He volunteered to teach in person last year and did. Now he says he's not allowed on campus unless he gets the shot. So he's suing his employer. Professor Todd Zawicki of George Mason University joins us now. Professor, your op-ed in the Wall Street Journal caught my eye. I'm glad we could get you on to talk about this because there are a lot of reasons people are not getting this shot. And yours, again, caught my eye. What did your doctor say about your reason for this?
My immunologist says that I don't need to get vaccinated because I have very strong evidence and very strong antibodies that indicate that I have natural immunity to the COVID virus. I was first infected in March 2020. I'll just give my opinion. If a vaccine had existed at the time, I would have gotten vaccinated. There wasn't. I don't recommend COVID to anybody, but I got COVID, I recovered, and I've got very strong immunity protection from that. I got my first antibody test last July. I've had 6 positive antibody tests since then, including this June. And my doctor, reviewing my antibody test in June, said that my antibodies are very high, about 900 times baseline antibody levels, comparable to anybody who's been vaccinated. Plus, it turns out getting vaccination when you have natural immunity actually not only gives you the normal side effects that's associated with any vaccine, but actually elevated side effects because of the risk of hyperinflammation of your immune system. And so in his view, he recommends that at the current time, I don't get vaccinated, and we are going to revisit it as time goes along. But that's his view, and I think it makes sense.
Right. This is something that's definitely caught my eye because I've been wondering about this and why people would get the vaccine after they've been exposed to the virus. And I found an article today that the CDC says unvaccinated people who've had COVID are more than twice as likely to be reinfected compared to those who are fully vaccinated after they've had the virus. I guess the question is, you're a law professor, but obviously you've done a lot of research on this. We could tell in the article. Why wouldn't you get the shot if it indeed boosts your immunity even more?
Well, the most obvious point is because I have really high immunity already. A one-size-fits-all approach to medicine doesn't work and never would work. And I'd prefer to rely on the views of my immunologist, who used to teach at Harvard Medical School and Penn Medical School and is familiar with my history. And that's exactly my point, which is that if he and I later on decide that it would benefit me to get vaccinated, that's what I'm going to do, but that should be my choice. That's completely irrelevant to my lawsuit, of course, because in my suit, the question is whether or not I should be forced to get vaccinated and whether or not my immunity is at least as good as somebody who has vaccination.
Right.
I'll add one last thing is That CDC study is a very poor study. There was a study of 52,000 people at the Cleveland Clinic that found no benefit. There was a study of 12,000 healthcare workers from Oxford that actually found that you had an increased risk of symptomatic illness if you got vaccinated after natural immunity. So I think the jury is still very much out on this question, and I trust my immunologist.
And it is changing, no question, Professor. But I'm curious, the legal establishment here is pretty well in place. I don't need to tell you that as a law professor, and I'll point to the case at Indiana University, which 2 courts now have held up their vaccine mandate. What makes your case different?
Well, my case, well, first, I'm an employee, not a student, and that's a huge difference.
I thought Indiana had everybody on campus getting it, though.
But more important, my case is focused on this precise issue of natural immunity. And at George Mason, where their case was a lot broader, it was a broad mandate. My case is we are accepting, for the sake of argument in this case, that George Mason may have some interest in people having immunity when they come on campus. Our argument is premised on the idea that it's clear that natural immunity, which is about 90 to 95% protective, is at least as protective as what is considered to be the most protective vaccines, far more and unarguably more protective than lower quality vaccines like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which only claims to be 66% effective. But George Mason's policy is so bizarre, it actually says that you could qualify if you get any vaccine approved by the World Health Organization, which include vaccines like the Sinovac and the Sinopharm vaccine out of China.
Right.
And so whatever's going on there, it's clearly not to protect public health. And our view is that you have to have a good reason. You have to have a compelling reason to make me get vaccinated. Right. And that's completely different and it's better than those vaccines.
What are you going to do, Professor? Are you going to teach remotely?
Well, I'm hoping that I've filed a request for a medical exemption from the school, and we're figuring out, and that has not been discussed yet. Teaching remotely is one option. What I hope is that when my first class opens on the morning of August 23rd, that the university, I would still love it if the university would live up to its principles and say that it believes in using evidence and science and creative thinking to solve the problems of the world. And I'm hoping that they will recognize what I'm telling them, at least in my case. And in the meantime, we're exploring various different options if they don't.
Well, it's a fascinating case. Again, Professor Todd Zawicki, George Mason University. It's a well-written piece, too, well-researched in the Wall Street Journal. I recommend you check it out if you're interested. In the meantime, we will continue to follow this case. And do me a favor, come back and visit us when it runs its course, will you?
I'd love to. It's great talking to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor. Another vaccine requirement, Norwegian cruise lines requiring passengers to be vaccinated, even though Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has banned any mandates. And now a judge has ruled against the governor. Let's check in with Brian Enton in Florida for us tonight with the latest on that. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Joe. Yeah, this has certainly gotten interesting down here in Florida. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis not happy with this federal judge's ruling that came out late yesterday. You know, Governor DeSantis has been against vaccine passports since the beginning. He signed a law banning them here in Florida. He fought with the CDC, took the CDC to court over these vaccine passports. Norwegian Cruise Lines, the big ship you see behind me, they've been steadfast throughout saying they want all of their passengers to be vaccinated. So they took the state of Florida to federal court. And yesterday, this federal judge made the ruling that everyone on the ships should be vaccinated. The judge, Kathleen Williams here in the Miami district, said public health will be jeopardized without a vaccine requirement. Joe?
Brian, thank you very much. Live for us tonight in Miami. Will Chamberlain joins us now for more on all of this. He's humanevents.com co-publisher and senior counsel, Internet Accountability Project. Will, it's been a while since we've talked. It's good to see you again. The governor of Florida has always said he's opposed to government overreach, but he's telling businesses what they can and can't do in this case. Is that overreach?
No, I don't think so. I think it's perfectly appropriate for the governor of a state to protect his citizens from what businesses might do. This is not anarchy. We don't live in a society where businesses aren't regulated and they already have to adhere to tons of regulations dealing with health and how they treat citizens and non-discrimination requirements. So I don't see why this is particularly offensive or egregious. Rather, it just seems to make sense.
You're saying then that the cruise lines shouldn't be allowed to say, hey, if you're going to get on our boat, you need to be vaccinated?
I mean, I think a cruise line can say that, but the state of Florida can also say we don't want you in our state if you're going to do that. I think that's, you know, I do respect to some degree. I respect like the fact that these are businesses and they want to run their businesses in the way they see fit. But they also have to adhere to state non-discrimination regulations, right? I mean, and that's been a standard part of American law since really the 1880s.
Well, let's shift to Arkansas because the governor there, Asa Hutchinson, banned mask mandates and then wishes he hadn't. So let's listen to a clip of that and we'll talk after.
I brought our partners in to help make a decision to change that law that I signed, but at that time our cases were low. We thought the whole coronavirus was over with. We're moving in the right direction. All of a sudden the Delta variant comes back and a leader responds to new facts, new information, and you have to adjust.
I don't know what to think anymore, Will. What are we supposed to do?
I mean, on the mask mandates part, I really think people should be much more focused on vaccination than mask mandates. Masks were always sort of a temporary substitute for getting vaccinated. Their effectiveness was, you know, I mean, it was like they were mildly effective, but the studies weren't super great. And so the fact that we have a vaccine that's demonstrated to work, that should be where the focus is rather than reinstituting a mask mandate. Moreover, I mean, this sort of fear of breakthrough infections is very bizarre to me because at this point, COVID's basically endemic. It's not going away. I mean, and so if you're vaccinated and you're still petrified to go outside, are you going to be wearing a mask in 5 years, 2 years? Are you waiting for a better vaccine? Like, what event would you be waiting for at that point? So I think, you know, I think Hutchinson was right the first time to say, okay, we're past the point of needing mask mandates. There are vaccines available for those who want them. And I think he should stick with that.
And if you want to wear, I guess at this point, it's really up to everyone to do what they think is right? Get the vaccine if you want. If you don't, the consequences are on you. Wear a mask if you want. You're saying that there just shouldn't be any mandates for it.
Right, and I don't think mandates are particularly persuasive either. You know, the big problem here is that the public health authorities really lost a lot of credibility early on in the crisis. Like at Human Events, we were one of the first publications out there to talk about actually we should start looking at using masks because kind of places like Taiwan were doing better than we were all the way back in February, March 2020, and we were like, hey, we should probably look at what they're doing. And at that time, the CDC was saying, oh no, masks don't work, masks aren't good. You know, now if you said what the CDC was saying in March 2020, you get banned for misinformation on Facebook.
It has been a wild ride. Let's hit former President Obama's birthday party quickly before we let you go, Will. It was outside. It was in his backyard. Everyone was vaccinated. What's the big deal?
I mean, the big deal is that it seems like these people can't adhere by their own restrictions on everybody else. It's sort of like Gavin Newsom going to the French Laundry when he had imposed a serious mandate and closing down most businesses in California. When Muriel Bowser was just caught maskless after reimposing a mask mandate here in Washington, D.C. I mean, I think ultimately, I mean, I'm about to get married, so I'm about to have a party, and we're going to have 100 people.
Yeah, but we have Lollapalooza. We have baseball stadiums that are full. Again, what's the difference?
Well, the difference is obviously everybody loves Barack Obama, and it's a quote-unquote sophisticated, you know, intelligent crowd, and so it's they're just naturally immune because of their sophistication. That's the obvious answer.
Is that it? All right, Will Chamberlain, humanevents.com, co-publisher and senior counsel, Internet Accountability Project. It's good to see you again, Will. Take care.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
All aboard. That's what the Biden administration is saying as part of the new infrastructure bill, but are Americans ready to pay for the $66 billion train ticket? And another weekend of summer violence leaves dozens wounded, several dead, including a 29-year-old Chicago police officer, Ella French. Happened during a traffic stop. We'll discuss what's behind the growing violent trend in our Policing in America series. That's ahead. And don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter. It was another violent weekend in Chicago, including the death of a 29-year-old police officer, Officer Ella French, a member of the community safety team, and her partner, both shot during a traffic stop on Chicago's South Side Saturday. Hundreds of officers gathered outside the hospital in support. It's where Officer French died Saturday night, where the injured officer remains tonight. Sunday morning, scores of saluting officers stood guard as her body was brought to the medical examiner's office. French is the first officer to be killed in the line of duty since Mayor Lori Lightfoot took office. And the mayor was reportedly given the cold shoulder by officers when she showed up at the hospital Saturday night, an indication certainly of the strained relationship between the mayor and the police force. We're going to speak with a former Chicago FOP official, Patrick Murray. He'll join us here in just a minute, but we want to turn now to News Nation's Adrienne Bankert, who has more on the violent weekend, not only here in Chicago, but across the nation.
It's so true, Joe. And again, we're just hearing from police just within the hour on the fact that Ella French's killer has been charged with first-degree murder, 21 years old. His brother also charged with weapons charges and obstruction of justice in this case, not only of her murder, but also the attempted murder of her officer who's fighting for his life in the hospital. We want to talk about the violence going on all over the country, specifically gun violence against police officers, similar incidents where officers were ambushed. There was an officer in Colorado who was shot 3 times within seconds of exiting his vehicle. He was responding to a theft at the time. And then we know in Texas, 3 officers were shot and wounded, 1 killed by a man barricaded inside of a home. And in just the past 72 hours in Kentucky, a deputy was ambushed while sitting inside his security vehicle without provocation early Thursday. Also, we know that in La Habra, Orange County, California, an officer was shot in front of a police station. And according to police, it was because of a road rage incident. Police had actually directed a woman who felt somebody was following her. That man who followed her pulled a gun on police and shot at that officer. So we know the stats are staggering right now. According to the Fraternal Order of Police, there have been 52 ambush-style shootings of officers, 17 killings of officers. That's up 126% compared to 2020. But let's pull up the stats all around the country. These are not specific ambushes. These are violent attacks or violent shootings with police officers. In the end of July 2021, there have been 185 officers shot, 35 killed. You compare that to the numbers for the total annual killings of officers, 44 in 2020, 44 killed in 2019. We're already above pace to see a lot of officer-involved deaths where the officers have been the target of violence.
Right. And I know in Chicago alone, I think the number is 38 officers who've either been shot or shot at just this year alone. And on that note, let's bring in now Patrick Murray, retired FOP official. Let's start with Officer French. What can you tell us about her to begin with and how the department is trying to handle this?
Well, I had heard that she spent about 3 years on a job. She's very proactive. She was a great police officer. She wanted to go out and make a difference in the communities that she worked in. And I heard nothing but good things about her.
We hear routine traffic stop, and I think we've all stopped saying that because we know what happens on any traffic stop. It can turn and go south in a hurry. What happened on this one?
I think they observed a traffic violation. I don't want specifically the specifics of what happened, but they observed a traffic violation and three offenders in a car, and they were able to get them out of the car. And unfortunately today, there's really no respect for the police. And you get, these offenders move and take off running and, things like that. They have no respect for the law.
She was part of a new unit, the community safety team, that's actually intended to try to do more community policing, as I understand it.
Well, the problem today is we've lost so many officers. More and more police officers are retiring. We can't get people to take this job. At one time in 1985, I took the test, there was 35,000. We can't get 500 people to take this job.
To take the test?
To take the test at one time in 1985.
All right. Adrienne, I know you have a little bit more on this, too, about what's happening in Chicago.
Well, I mean, the fact is it's a much more dangerous job than ever. We're seeing violence at astronomical rates. 2,500 people have been shot in the city of Chicago so far this year. And when you look at the numbers, 73 people were shot, 10 killed in Chicago just in the past weekend here. Looking at July, there were 105 murders in the city of Chicago in the month of July alone. And the Chicago police superintendent, David Brown, who was the police chief in Dallas before this job, he says that one of the big issues is that they are re-releasing violent offenders back into the community. That's a huge problem. The mayor, Mayor Lightfoot, did speak today saying that the police are not our enemies. And that was a very emotional statement.
In fact, we do have more on what the mayor said today. Let's listen to that quickly, and then Patrick will bring you back in.
The police are not our enemies. They are human, just as we are.
Patrick, this leads us to another incident that happened at the hospital. As I understand it, the mayor went there to check on the officer who was injured, and the officers who were there at the time turned their back on her. What does that say about the relationship with the mayor and her police?
Well, there is no relationship with the mayor. Since she was, prior to her being elected, she didn't want to have anything to do with the police department. She really has a negative attitude toward the police department, and I truly believe that this happened. She was told, do not come up to the 7th floor. The family does not want to talk to you. They don't want to see you. Do not come up there. And she just did it on her own to decide to go up there. She just going to do what she wants to do, and she got exactly what she deserves.
Is there any way to repair this relationship?
The only way that you're going to repair any relationship is when we have a new mayor. I don't think that you can repair anything with
2 years away, isn't it, Patrick?
It's about a year and a half away, but the fact of the matter is, she has not liked the police even before she was in charge of the police board. One of the stats that I could give you is when a policeman goes in front of the police board today, probably an 85% chance he's going to get fired.
She has pushed back against efforts to defund the police, though. She's getting it from a lot of sides, right?
Yeah,
Patrick?
but you know what? They say defund the police. You're losing, I think you lost maybe 1,500 police officers in the last couple of budgets, and she has been defunding. And there's less and less police officers out there. So more and more police officers are leaving and saying, I can't do this job no more. It's too difficult.
It's getting harder to find. Patrick Murray, retired FOP official, thanks for your time. And Adrian, good to see you as well. Thank you both. Not going in the right direction. That's how the Pentagon described the situation in Afghanistan. As the Taliban takes hold of the country, will the U.S. step in to prevent more chaos? The Biden administration hoping to deliver on its promise of more transparency after families of 9/11 victims demanded action. We'll speak with a lawyer who says those demands didn't reflect the feelings of most survivors.
The Secretary shares the concern of the international community about the security situation in Afghanistan, which is clearly not going in the right direction. The Secretary continues to believe that the Afghan forces have the capability, they have the capacity to make a big difference on the battlefield.
That was Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby today on the situation that's unfolding in Afghanistan. His comments came after the U.S. Embassy in Kabul issued a security alert over the weekend, warning the embassy's ability to assist anyone is, quote, extremely limited, even within Kabul. News Nation's Allison Harris has more from Washington tonight. Allison?
Joe, today the Taliban has taken over 2 more provincial capitals in Afghanistan, meaning the Afghans have now lost 6 out of 34 capitals in the country. The Pentagon today saying the security situation there is deteriorating. The Taliban is accelerating as the U.S. completes its drawdown of troops by the end of this month. A spokesperson for the Defense Department, whom you just heard, saying today that the Taliban takeover is deeply concerning. The UN also saying that. The Taliban is rolling through the north, targeting and assassinating politicians who make up the backbone of the Afghan government and the security forces. The Taliban putting out this propaganda video showing that they've seized government buildings, driving officials out of the area, leaving behind their vehicles and their materials. The U.S. gave air cover to help the Afghan forces last week. Today, the Pentagon says it will continue supporting them where and when it's feasible, but it's not always going to be feasible. The fighting is displacing hundreds of Afghan families who say their homes are being bombed or hit by rockets. The UN today saying that in the past 72 hours, 20 children have been killed, 130 have been injured. And Joe, that is just in one province.
Wow. All right, Allison Harris, thank you for the update tonight. We appreciate it. For more on this, let's bring in our friend Hal Kempfer, founder and CEO of Global Risk Intelligence Planning. Hal, it feels like things are unraveling quickly there.
Joe, it's looking really bad. They're making rapid gains. They're moving into these capitals. These are urban areas, and the thing with the urban areas is it's no longer, we're not dealing with smaller units. They have to mass in order to take a city. And what we're seeing is larger units around these cities, and that's one of the reasons that we're bringing in air power, is the idea of if they're on the road or if they're massed in areas, maybe we can use air power to make a decisive difference.
How effective is this B-52 campaign, in your opinion, Hal? I mean, collateral damage is an issue for sure. You heard our report there from Allison. It's a concern for a lot of people in that area.
Well, Joe, they're going to be looking at a lot of different things with that. One of the big problems is the B-52s are flying out of Qatar. The legs on the aircraft, because we no longer have Bagram, and we don't have an airfield that we used to have up north called Manas. The fact that we don't have those means that we have to fly these planes in from a very long way, limited time on station, and even if we can do the in-flight refueling, which we do, they only carry so much ordnance, and at some point it's gone. What I'm hearing is that unless it's a pretty dire situation, they tend not to attack. They're prioritizing, and a lot of these units are in pretty dire straits before they come in.
Right. Well, you heard John Kirby there coming into you say that Afghan forces, in his words, have the capability and capacity, if I heard him right. Are there enough Afghan troops to hold the line here, even with this B-52 support?
You know, it sounds oddly like what we heard in about South Vietnam back in 1975. Yes, and technically speaking, they have the forces, they have the weapons, they have what they need to hold them. Really the big issue is will to fight, and of course, the fear is if they see it as inevitable that the Taliban are going to take over, what we're already seeing is at least one major warlord has switched sides. So that's the question, is will they continue to fight?
Yeah, the other question, Hal, I'm sure people watching this might ask, is after 20 years, how is there not a stable enough military force in place there to defend these cities?
It's really a political situation. The Taliban still appeals to a large percentage of the population. The government does have that view with many of being corrupt and not representing everybody's interests. So it's seen as, in many cases, it's seen as sort of an outside thing that was imposed on Afghanistan, not a natural thing within Afghanistan, despite everything we've done. So it takes a long time. And if you look at the history of warfare, for example, we defeated Germany, Japan, we went into Korea, we still have forces there. The idea that we can go in, apply kinetics, whether it's for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, and then depart, history is not on our side in that regard.
Hal Kempfer, it's always good to have your voice with us. Thank you very much for your time. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Joe.
Now to what started the war in Afghanistan, the attacks on September 11th, 2001. The 20-year memorial is coming up next month, but nearly 2,000 victims, their families, and first responders do not want President Biden to attend. They want the Biden administration to release classified documents on 9/11, and we spoke with one of them on Friday.
My question, and I think the 9/11 community's question at this point, is why after 20 years? Why after 20 years? What are we hiding?
Now, the Biden administration says it does intend to disclose some classified documents and have the Department of Justice take a fresh look at others. Joining us now, someone who thinks President Biden should be at the anniversary. He also represents thousands who got sick after inhaling toxins during the 9/11 attacks. Michael Barish. Michael, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. We said Friday uninviting a president is a pretty serious statement. You think that went too far?
Oh, it's the wrong move, clearly. But I share that gentleman's frustrations. I represent over 25,000 people who are really sick from inhaling the toxic dust, and over 1,500 families who have lost loved ones from the 68 cancers linked. And believe me, they want to see these documents. They're entitled to see these documents. The frustration is real, but they would be incredibly insulted if the president didn't show on the anniversary. Instead, let's use this time to, look, we're moving out of Afghanistan, finally. Okay, great. Why not divulge all these, declassify these documents, and let the 9/11 community learn once and for all whether Saudi Arabia bears any culpability? Because after all, 19 of the 20 hijackers were coincidentally from Saudi Arabia. Someone had to sponsor these people. Someone had to pay for their air flight lessons, their hotel rooms, their food. I think we deserve to know. But I'm not in favor of demanding that the president not come, and neither are any of my clients.
Right. Michael, our guest on Friday said many of those exact same things. And I guess the question would be 20 years later, why not release them? Because by not releasing them, you're going to allow some to question whether the U.S. government is hiding something.
Well, I don't think they're hiding them, but let's face it, we don't have a lot of friends in the Mideast. We have Israel and we have Saudi Arabia, for better or worse. So by not divulging this information, it begs the question, what are they hiding? Maybe not hiding, but why are they protecting Saudi Arabia? It doesn't make any sense after 20 years. This would be a golden opportunity for President Biden and the Justice Department to come clean. Look, let's face it. Biden's only been in power, been our president for 6 months. But President Bush had 8 years to do it. President Obama had 8 years to do it.
Right.
President Trump had 4 years to do it. None of them did it. So I beg you, President Biden, do what your predecessors didn't do and let the 9/11 community know who really was behind these attacks.
All right. Well, we will certainly be thinking of you and all of your clients coming up here next month as we mark 20 years since those attacks. Attorney Michael Barish, thank you so much for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
New York lawmakers continue to move forward with their impeachment investigation into Governor Andrew Cuomo. News Nation's Ashley Bancroft joins us next. Break down the latest. And we're following the money train, how American taxpayers appear to be on the hook for Amtrak's $66 billion ticket. That and more ahead.
I exactly remember looking down, seeing his hand, which is a large hand, thinking to myself, oh my God, this is happening.
That was Brittany Comiso, former executive assistant to Governor Andrew Cuomo, breaking her silence on her accusations of sexual harassment against the governor. She's also known as Executive Assistant Number 1 in the report released just last week by Attorney General Letitia James, which alleges Cuomo harassed at least 11 women. Meantime, Cuomo's top aide, Melissa DeRosa, resigned from her post yesterday without mentioning the governor. Joining us now, Ashley Bancroft. Nice to have you in Chicago.
Hey, nice to sit beside you.
Yeah. Let's talk about the criminal side of this case, because that's not something we've heard a lot about up to this point.
No, you've heard people say things, and morally they're reprehensible things, allegations, but we haven't had something officially filed and something that actually exposes the governor to the criminal system. That's scary, because you know what that amounts to. Getting handcuffs and having a perp walk and going into court and looking like a criminal.
It feels, Ashley, almost like we're sort of watching this thing in slow motion, waiting for the inevitable, which is, we all presume, him resigning. But at this point, looks less and less likely, right?
Well,
what are his options at this point?
You and I look at things so differently because, you know, my whole career in crime and justice, I always look at the inevitable, the really, really bad stuff, as going into court, maybe going to jail, or maybe having a criminal conviction. You lose your job, it's a bummer. But you go to jail and life really upends. So my slow, walk of this really goes towards that I'm not so sure inevitable end.
Well, people just don't, things have changed in the last 2 to 3 years especially. People don't tend to survive these things, especially starting with the Me Too movement and Harvey Weinstein and so on. Since then, I don't know that anyone has.
You know, it is different, but I will say this. We've always, characterized these things as he said, she said. And each he and each she should be equal, right? You shouldn't just automatically go to the default if the guy's guilty. You shouldn't. Right. We all deserve a defense in this country, right? But the thing is, there's a lot of evidence that's really important, and that's where I really come at this. Do you have the goods? And when I look at Brittany's account, there are things that can easily be presented in a court of law and asserted, and in this case, that could be very damning for the governor. For one, there are photographs that were taken, okay, that actually detail what she says. It's evidence of a thing that she described. A photo exists, it's in the state attorney's report. Then there are contemporaneous reports. Joe Donlon, if I had a dime for all the times I heard of a contemporaneous report given to a friend 15 years ago, I was terrified to speak publicly, but I did tell 3 friends, my mother and my cousin. And they then go under oath and they say, oh, yes, she did say that. Those give a lot of credence to stories that some people say are very convenient today. Well, if they're very convenient today, why did they exist years ago? Now, she actually has some of these contemporaneous reports from years ago as well.
Where do you think this goes next?
So with a criminal complaint, it gets assessed by prosecutors, and they have to walk a really fine line because he's the governor. So should we be giving him special treatment, going harder on him? Should a prosecutor look at him and say, you are more culpable, you deserve to have the book thrown at you more? Or should he be the same as you and me, a citizen? And oftentimes, I'm not going to lie, but this is a misdemeanor kind of case. It can amount in jail, but they're not often prosecuted. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to get a conviction. We don't have all the money in the world to prosecute every case.
We're up against the clock here, but what do you have tonight?
Well, a little of that.
A little?
And then, of course, I feel like it's a sex show, but, and I say that with, with all respect.
It is cable, but it's not that.
It's not all that, right? It's not HBO, folks. No, but I think what really important is that a suit has been filed against Prince Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
Virginia Giuffre, 17 years old, back in the day, says that she was sexually trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein to Prince Andrew, had sex with him not once, not twice, but several times, and she's also got the goods.
Oh, boy.
Contemporaneous reporting, photos, etc.
Ashley, it's good to have you. Good to see you. And you will see more tonight. It's called Banfield, and you'll see it 10 Eastern, 9 Central, right here on News Nation. Yearning for a good old-fashioned train ride? Well, you just might get one. The $1 trillion infrastructure bill includes $66 billion in funding for Amtrak and passenger rail. But is this the right investment? Joining me now, Tom Schatz, president of Citizens Against Government Waste. It's been a little while since we've chatted. It's good to have you back, Tom. The government has shown it's not very good at running a railroad. Let's just put it that way, right? Does another $66 billion change anything?
Amtrak was created in 1971. It has never turned a profit. So the government has proved that it is very good at losing money. So the Senate infrastructure bill simply codifies that Amtrak will always lose money and the taxpayers will subsidize the railroad. They've changed language, they've changed objectives. They want to add about 30 new routes and cover another 160 towns and cities. They're even trying to do Las Vegas to LA. They shut that down in 1997. And there's been a private effort to do high-speed rail since 2005, which has fallen apart. They got 8 airlines flying every half hour from Vegas to LA, and they've got 4 buses, all much cheaper, $20 in fact, than Amtrak will ever be.
Should they focus on the Northeast Corridor, Tom? Because that line actually does get used quite a bit.
Well, the Northeast Corridor is turning a profit, but the legislation states that existing routes and long-distance routes cannot be eliminated. Jobs can't be eliminated, and any place that has more than 40 passengers in a day must have a ticket agent, even if people are buying the tickets online.
Do you think an upgrade or an improvement, Tom, might change the way America thinks about train travel, or are these years long gone?
Oh, I think that if Amtrak was going to be successful, it would have been successful by now. Okay. And by the way, it's not even as environmentally great as they say it is. Buses emit less carbon, and airlines have become so efficient that they're about the same as flying. Flying's about the same as a train in terms of pollution. And so I just think it's long past time that Amtrak can be resurrected or continued.
What should the government do with it?
Oh, I think they should turn it into a private rail line like they did with Conrail. The commercial line learned how to make a profit. Why can't passenger rail make a profit? I mean, if you're going to subsidize everything, then we're going to run out of money eventually, which is the other end of where we are right now. And this is just running taxpayers off the rails.
Yeah, so to speak, I like that. I'm curious, I just saw a push on my phone here about the U.S. Postal Service slowing down some first-class mail delivery starting on October 1st to ease its debt. First of all, what do you think of that? Because the Postal Service is another one that's losing a lot of money. And then we'll get to another question after that.
Well, the House of Representatives does have legislation that should make service a little better, actually a lot better, for the Postal Service. They didn't address some other issues like closing unused post offices and labor costs, but at least the House of Representatives is trying to do something helpful for the post office. But what they're doing for Amtrak is just making the taxpayers pay forever and forever. And by the way, Amtrak expects a 50% increase in ridership in the next 10 to 15 years. That's never going to happen because if everybody's got an electric car, government subsidizing that is going to be a lot easier to do that.
Right. Is it me or are so many other countries so much farther ahead of us when it comes to rail? Is it worth even trying to catch up or should we just let it go?
Well, the reason that other countries have better rail is that they are physically smaller and they are also geographically easier to get around. And look at what they're trying to do in California. That price went from $25 billion to $90 billion for California high-speed rail. They have to go through mountains and under various areas that need a lot of work. It's, again, why it's not working. That's why Northeast is so easy. It's pretty straight, it's pretty flat, and you can go faster than in other places.
Yeah, so you study government waste. On the way out here, Tom, give us your number one boondoggle.
This one's up there. Amtrak is up there. But Citizens Against Government Waste annually issues our Congressional Pig Book. People can get it at cagw.org. And we're going to be looking really hard at this $3.5 trillion quote-unquote infrastructure bill. That's even a bigger mess than the Senate bill at $1 trillion.
All right. Tom Schatz, president of Citizens Against Government Waste. It's good to see you again. Thanks.
Thank you.
Masks are back for New Jersey students this fall, but at least they're back in the classroom. We'll show you some surprising and shocking test scores during their remote learning last year. Coming up. On the way out tonight, I hate to say it, but I'm afraid this school year is going to be a bit messy, as if last year wasn't messy enough. Here are some numbers to think about from New Jersey. Chalkbeat reports just 9% of students from 2nd to 8th grade met state expectations in math this spring. 9% based on their year-end test scores. And only 11% met expectations in reading. So it gives you an idea of the impact the pandemic has had. A few months ago, it looked like kids would be back in class in person, and masks might even be a thing of the past. But now, kids will have to wear masks in several states, while other states have banned mask mandates. Some districts will make their own call. How do we get back to some sense of normal with so much confusion? Battles with parents and unions. What about outbreaks and quarantines, contact tracing? Kids have had it rough the past year, and unfortunately, it looks like they're heading back to school for another year that could be just as dicey. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us.